Hey everybody, welcome back to World History with Mr. Finn. We are in the midst of a big change. We are looking at Europe and we're looking at the difference of medieval Europe, the Dark Ages, and then coming out of those Dark Ages and having a value put back on education, value put back on individualism, a value put back on everything with the Renaissance and the rebirth, which is the architecture and the art. All of that stuff is coming back. Remember my scientific historical word, stuff. A bunch of stuff is happening where now we are starting to be more aware, and now that we're not just trying to get by and survive, and there's upheaval and conflict and wars and all that stuff, we are now in a position in Europe where people are starting to come out of those Middle Ages and have new thoughts and new ideas. And we're going to talk about a major one today, so bear with me. We do have a quiz, so I'm going to try and go as quickly as I can to explain this. But it's going to start with someone named Martin Luther. Who is Martin Luther? Martin Luther is a monk. He's from Germany, and he is going to start to be the leader of a movement. And this movement was all about reforming, meaning to change, to make better, to try to improve the Catholic Church. Now, if you remember, the church was like number one. The church was so important to the people of Europe during this time period. We had, remember, heresy. If you had a crime against the church, they had their own court system, the Inquisition, that they could punish people. The church was a very political and spiritual entity at the time. And it becomes very political, the church does. And when it becomes very political, it gets a lot of money, prestige, corruption, and that's a bad thing because money and power usually leads to some bad things in the church, which is supposed to be about individuals making their way to heaven, and here's what we tell you to do, is now turned into almost a political, again, entity or thing. Martin Luther doesn't like this, and a lot of people don't like this. He's just going to be the leader of it. Martin Luther is, I guess, for the term, so I can give you a couple notes, is going to be really the leader, the figurehead, the leader of the Reformation. And again, for definition-wise, the Reformation itself is going to be to they would say improve the church, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, the Reformation is questioning the Catholic Church. They start to question the Catholic Church. What are you doing? Why are you political? Why aren't you just worried about our souls and heaven and those types of things? Let me get the way here. And so Martin Luther is going to be the leader of this movement about questioning the church. What is the church doing? Is it really what it is supposed to be at this point? And this goes back to this time period where people are starting to think about stuff. Education's there. Intellectual thinking is going up. And people start to go like, wait a second, why do we just do whatever the church is telling us? Couldn't we possibly read the Bible for ourselves and make our own decisions and have our personal relationship, with God for them? That's the idea, because at this point, you had to go through the church to be told how to act, what to do. They're going to tell you how you can get to heaven. They'll interpret the Bible and tell you all about it because you can't read, you can't do this, you can't do whatever. Now, people can read. There's books being, I'll tell you about books being printed. I did tell you we're going to have this invention. But the fact is, people can start to do this for themselves, and they're starting to think, and they go, wait a second, why do we just got to take what the church says? Can't I read it myself and figure out what I think about it? The church doesn't like this. Surprise, surprise. Because the church is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That means we're losing control over telling people how to think, how to act, what to do. We don't want you doing it yourself, because then what good are we? We need to make sure that we are the ones that tell you what's going on. One of the big things that spurs this idea, Martin Luther has a real problem with the church. One of the big ones is this term indulgences. So indulgences are, let's just make it easy, pay to save your soul. All right. So, sounds pretty crazy, right? Indulgences would be like a certificate, a piece of paper. You would buy this indulgence from the church. You would have to pay money for this indulgence, and that would save your soul. And if you could buy them for loved ones, so say you had a relative who had passed away, and hey, they might be in purgatory, meaning they're not in heaven, they're not in hell, they're somewhere in between. I'm going to buy this indulgence for them. And so it just becomes kind of a money-making scheme for the church. And Martin Luther's like, whoa, wait a second. We can pay money and then go to heaven? That's not how it's supposed to work. I'm a monk. I know how it's supposed to work. And indulgences shouldn't be paying money to do that. That's not how it's supposed to work. And so this is one of the major things that spurs on his thinking. But there's also a number of problems with the church. And that brings us to his 95 theses. And this is reasons to change or reform the church. So he writes this. He's like, this is one reason, this is another reason, this is another reason. I have all these reasons why I do not think the church is doing what it's supposed to do. And it is said that he nailed, this piece of paper with his 95 reasons, his 95 theses on a church door. Obviously, the Catholic Church is not happy with Martin Luther. They actually do something. What's going to end up happening, I guess I can erase the Reformation. You have this. I'll put it up here. It's called excommunication. Long word. Whew, excommunication. Basically what this means is you're kicked out of the church. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally and everything else. But, well, I guess, and physically you're not allowed to go there, but you are now excommunicated, meaning you are no longer Christian. You cannot practice this religion. You are kicked out of the church completely. You're done. It's over. You're out of here. And Martin Luther does get excommunicated because he will not, what the term is, like, retract or not say what he is saying. He's like, no, this is what I truly believe. A lot of people are following his ideas. They agree with what he thinks. And so being excommunicated means, I'm going to get another marker. This one's starting to get light. 95 Theses. So Martin Luther's out. And he is going to become, the people who follow his message become Lutheran, which is a new religion. But I'm going to go higher than just Lutheran, but I'm going to go with this word. Protestant. And it comes from protest. Protestant religions. Martin Luther, the people who follow him, again, become Lutherans. But we're going to see this Protestant Reformation. I erased Reformation. This Protestant Reformation means that the Catholic Church was one entity. It was one church. If you were a Christian, you were part of the Catholic Church. That was it. Now, after Martin Luther, you are going to have some Christians who follow his messages, and they become Lutherans. You're going to have some Christians who follow other people. We can look at someone like John Calvin. I'm not going to get all into John Calvin too much, except for to tell you some things that his thought process is. But if you followed his messages, you would be a Calvinist. So you are starting to see new Christian religions pop up. So now, if you're Christian, you would have to say, like in today's world, if I asked you, hey, what religion are you? And you said, I'm Catholic, then I know that you're Catholic. You might also say, I'm a Lutheran. But we're all Christians. And so there's Lutherans. Today there's Lutherans, Baptists, Presbyterians, Anglicans. There's a ton of different Protestant Christian religions. They are all consider themselves Christian, but they don't follow the messages of the Catholic Church because at some point, someone who started their way of thinking, their way of interpreting the Bible, broke away from the Catholic Church, and people followed that person's message, and they became, a Lutheran or a Calvinist or anything, whatever Protestant religion, whatever Protestant Christian religion you would be. This is a huge, huge change for what is happening in Europe. You are going to start to see countries either become, Protestant countries, or they're going to be Catholic countries, where the person in charge of that country says, we are a Catholic country. We follow the Pope and the Church in Rome. That is who we follow. You have certain countries that are going to be Protestant religions or, Protestant countries, and they're saying, no, we follow this message. We are a Protestant country. And this is going to kind of guide us a little bit in the upcoming classes with these different countries. But it is very important to understand this. This Protestant Reformation, I didn't even give you a year. Let's go with 1517. I believe that's when he nailed his 95 Theses to the door. In 1517, we are seeing a split with the Catholic Church, which means that powerful church is now being split up and losing part of its power. And that this is a major thing. We went through it fairly quick here with Martin Luther and this movement of trying to reform the church and questioning it and then breaking away. But what I really want you to understand is if the church was number one in almost everybody's life during this time, to see that church now getting questioned and kind of chopped up, and now you have different Christians who believe in different things. This was a big deal at the time. I cannot express to you how important this Protestant Reformation is. In fact, again, even today, if I said, if I walked up to a Christian and I said, hey, what religion are you? They might say, I'm a Baptist. Is that the same as a Catholic? Nope. Are you a Christian? Yep. So the Christian religion now has a lot of different kind of denominations of what people will think and why people think certain things. But again, I did say we have a quiz. So let's go ahead and number 1 through 5. I know it's a little bit long. That was a major thing, but it was important to get to. It's something we had to talk about, but we will, again, talk a little bit more about the Reformation coming up. So, 1 through 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. I got the book right here. I have a table. So let's see what I flip to see what questions you are going to get. Let's go to this page. Wow, I went way back. Woo! All right. This can be tough. You should have it in your notes. Who did Rome fight in the Punic Wars? Who did Rome fight in the Punic Wars? There was 3 of them. It was a civilization in the beginning and in the foundation of Rome. Who did they fight in the Punic Wars? Man, I went way far back. Let me go back one more, and then I'll go forward. I didn't even go back that far. Number 2. Number 2 is, let's make this one a little bit easier. Number 2 is a 50-50 question. Which Greek polis was known for having a stronger army? Athens or Sparta? One of the two. One had a better navy, one had a better army. Which one of those two, Athens or Sparta, had the stronger army? I'll go back one more time. I don't see anything here. Oh, wow. Okay. I always ask this one when I get to this. I don't want to ask that one. It was gonna be reincarnation, but I feel like we always end up on reincarnation. Ooh, here's a good one. We'll stay with India though. In India, for number 3. Let's go with this one. Give me one of the 2 rivers that flow through India. One of the 2 major rivers that we talked about with India when we began that chapter, starting ways back. There's 2 rivers. Give me one of those 2 rivers. Now I'm going to go way forward. We went backwards. Now we're going forwards. All right. Okay. Number 4. These, during the medieval times, were armored horsemen who would fight on behalf of their, lord or king. Armored horsemen who would fight on behalf of their king or lord. Let's see. Let me find a good one for the last one. I asked a guild question last time. We did just talk about the church, so I can't ask that. Ooh, I love this one. Number 5. Number 5 is the term that means the common language. It means the common language. We talked about this when we were still in the Middle Ages, talking about how most things were done in Latin, but as the times moved on, you started to see books and things being written in the... Ooh, I almost said it. Oh, I almost ruined that last one. You would have got a free one. Written in this, the common language. What does the term that means common language for number 5? And if you paid attention there, maybe, I maybe gave you the first letter. Anyway, this is what I want today. You can turn your notes in too, but get it to me today for attendance and participation purposes, and I will see you next class.